The reason I used these substances is because I was in graduate school at Grand Canyon University when I did a research project on psychedelics. And as I dove into the research, I was amazed by the results of these clinical trials happening globally. And it was pretty convincing as I read about psychotherapeutics for OCT, depression, anxiety, addiction. It seemed like all the names of family, friends, and loved ones popped into my head with these conditions. And it was very convincing for me that I needed to explore this more. A lot of people are taking plant medicine or psychedelics currently in the underground market, and a lot of them are facing more trauma because of it. Because there's no training, there's no grounding mechanisms to help them really understand their experience. So I'm really excited that JAMA Psychiatry came out with this report or this analysis that psychotherapeutics will be legal in most states by 2037. That's really exciting. I don't know that Utah has the opportunity to lead in that anymore. They had the opportunity in the legislation process in 2022 with Senate Bill 200. However, that time has passed, and now there are other states that are leading this legislation. Examples would be Colorado, Oregon, even California just recently released Treat California, which it's a ballot initiative to raise $5 billion for the sole purpose of psychedelic research. So I don't know that Utah has the opportunity to lead anymore, and Utah needs these substances. Utah is listed as one of the worst states for mental health in the country. 20% of adults have listed some sort of mental health issue throughout the year, and suicide is the leading cause of death for our youth. What we're doing right now is not working. More prayer and more therapy is not working. We need more tools. Utah can really step into this space with the lead of Senator Escamilla. She presented the Senate Bill 200, which has a pilot program of 5,000 people being able to be treated with the psychedelic substances for therapeutic purposes. I think that model can definitely still play out and do a lot of good for Utah residents. And there's a lot of patient population, people that I think could benefit. Veterans, for one. Texas, I think, is leading the cause for veterans to get psychedelic therapy. And I personally would love to see it for special needs parents, because I am a father of a special needs child, and I've benefited greatly from my experience with psychedelics. My personal experience with a child with special needs is there's a lot of duality in emotions. There's a lot of beauty in my child, but there's a lot of frustration at the same time. So trying to understand these competing emotions can be really challenging and really burdensome in a lot of ways. One in particular experience I had with 5-MeO in Mexico was I had a hallucination that I was falling backwards off of a cliff and dying. But as I landed on the other side, I entered this new reality where I started to see my son differently. And I saw that he was this teacher. And I think psychedelics have this potential to teach us lessons that we're so in dire need of. So I started a nonprofit this year called the Pure Living Family Foundation. My goal is to support special needs families, specifically parents. These parents are under a lot of pressure, and a lot of times they forget themselves. They're so deep in the research for their child, diving into Google Scholar, PubMed, lacking sleep because they're so devoted to their child that they forget their own health. And so what we're trying to do is help these special needs parents to remember themselves, to care for themselves, to find mindfulness and meditation and exercise so that they're more fully fueled to take care of this special being that they were blessed with. And I really believe that psychedelics can play a big part of that in the right environments, where they have a psychotherapist there to help guide them, to help support them in those really challenging moments. My hopes for the legislation process for this upcoming year are, there's a lot of excitement around the psychedelic research. I attended the psychedelic conference in Denver in June of this year, and everyone that's in this space was there speaking. Everyone from Andrew Huberman to Roland Griffiths, who started this new revolution at Johns Hopkins University back in 1999. Anyone was there speaking, and I think this movement is on its way to really having some really exciting developments, and Utah can play a part in that, or they can fall behind. And my hope is that the leadership in Utah, who they really crave being leaders in our country, we're leading the technology space. There's a lot of technology companies popping out of Silicon Slopes, and I take a lot of pride in that because I played a part in that space. And I think leadership in Utah can play a part in leadership in psychedelic medicalization as well, and I really hope that they do. There's a lot of stigma attached to the word psychedelic. I implore you to explore this research more. Don't allow that first initial emotional reaction to deter you from diving into the clinical trials that are happening globally. You will see for yourself the power of these compounds, these earth compounds, to help us as a humanity. Our country is divided right now, more divided than it ever has been in my lifetime. And I believe we need to come together with a shared collaborative approach and plan to how we address the future. And I really believe that psychedelics will play a part in that, where we can all open up our hearts and our minds to one another so that we understand each other, so we can move forward together.